Today, I'm going to show you how you can build your own personal AI voice agent here on ElevenLabs, which is going to connect directly into N8N. We're going to be able to talk to our email inbox to send emails. We're going to have a complete integration into HubSpot to search contacts and find information. We're going to be able to do up-to-date research using Perplexity as well, all connected into this secondary AI agent here on N8N. And this is going to be seamlessly connected to ElevenLabs. So we can simply talk to it through the website and it's going to be able to connect into all of these apps to do whatever we want. I'm no longer going to be having to do these tasks myself. I can simply instruct the AI on ElevenLabs to do this for me. And I'm going to be able to even visually see all of the tasks that it's doing here on N8N. Here's a quick demo.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, can you send John Cooper an email? I just want to ask him if he's interested in going to lunch tomorrow.
Sending an email to John Cooper now. I have sent an email to John Cooper asking if he is interested in going to lunch tomorrow. Is there anything else you would like to do?
And there you go. So that request to send an email to John Cooper to ask him if he wants to go out for lunch tomorrow has ran through. And we can see it here on our N8N agent that it searched HubSpot for the contact. It was able to send that email off to John as well. And if I have a look at my email inbox, we can see here that we've got the email that says, "Hi John, are you interested in going for lunch tomorrow? Best, Brendan." So it has been formatted quite well. It doesn't look too AI of an email and it has been sent off immediately from our email. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up all of the ElevenLabs settings required to get it to be performing how it did just then, as well as everything needed to get this N8N agent set up. But if you don't want to follow along with everything that I'm doing in this video and you just want to download this template right away, you can do so by joining my completely free school community, which I'll have linked in the description. We've got over 20,000 members now. We've got 50 plus other AI agent templates, which you can download for completely free. So there's really no reason why you shouldn't join. I'll have it linked down below. All right, so to get started in building out our agent, this right here is ElevenLabs. So this is the ElevenLabs dedicated conversational AI platform. I'll have this linked down below, although this is going to be the main page that we have to look at all of our agents and to manage all of the ones that we have. So the first thing that I'll do is just go ahead and click on New Agent in the top right here. We're going to get a couple of options to choose a blank agent, a personal assistant, or a business agent. These are just templates, so don't worry about these. I'm just going to click on the blank agent and then I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this the N8N Agent YouTube demo. Obviously, you can name that whatever you like, and then just hit create agent. And once you've done that, you're going to land on this page right here. And this has all of the settings and configurations required to get our voice agent set up and ready to go. So once again, I'm going to make this a super simple and easy tutorial. I'm going to go through all of the fundamental things that you need to understand to get this agent up and running, connected into N8N so that we can start to talk to it and have the seamless personal assistant. So the first thing that I'll do on this main page right here for ElevenLabs is just go down and scroll through these settings. You'll see a first message and a system prompt. These are going to be two pretty critical boxes for getting this agent set up. The first message is, as you would assume, the first thing that the agent is going to say. We can either disable this or enable this. So if you want your agent to say something when the conversation starts, you can literally just type out exactly what you want it to say. Otherwise, you can just remove this completely and then it won't say anything. But for the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to keep it there. And then below this, you'll have the system prompt. So if you've built voice agents at all, you've built any kind of AI agents, you'll know exactly what the system prompt is used for. So this is just our main core instruction set that is going to guide exactly how our AI agent is going to talk. So if this is going to be a personal assistant, this is where we would guide it and tell it that it is my personal assistant. It needs to do X, Y, and Z with these tools. I'm going to go ahead and just describe the desired agent up here. I'm just going to type personal assistant for Brendan. And once you type the sort of name for the agent up here, you'll actually see that it gives you this sort of generate with AI button. If we click this, it's going to be using ElevenLabs' own AI to generate a prompt for us. We can see here we've now got a personality. You've got an environment, tone, goal, as well as guardrails. So you can see here that it's given it a name called Alfred. You're a personal assistant named Alfred. You're efficient, discreet, and always one step ahead. You assist him with what he's looking for. You have access to Brendan's calendar, contacts, email, and frequently used apps. You are aware of Brendan's location and daily schedule. These can be some of the elements and apps that we add into our N8N workflow and agent so that we can actually seamlessly talk to all of the apps that has been prompted to do so. Then it's just added some further prompt engineering. So a tone, how it should be speaking, the goal, how it should be working with these applications and what it should be able to do with them. And then guardrails at the bottom here to make sure that it's not doing anything that it shouldn't be. A pretty good prompt from the auto generator here. Obviously, if you want this to be specific to exactly what you're doing, you can go ahead and just write out the prompt yourself. This type of structure is exactly what I would recommend, where we have a series of titles that's using markdown formatting, where we are really shaping the persona of the agent. So just scrolling to the bottom here, I'm going to skip past some of these settings. If you do want to see a video where I do a much deeper dive into all of the settings here on the ElevenLabs conversational agents, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, once you've landed at the tools section, all that we're going to be doing is adding a custom tool, and this is what's going to allow us to talk to an N8N AI agent. The rest of the tools up here are some of the pre-made tools. These can be great if you want to do any of these types of functions like transferring the calls, doing voicemail detection. We can just turn these on just by toggling it. But otherwise, we're just going to hit the add tool button, and then you're going to see webhook. And once you've done that, this panel is going to pop up on the right-hand side, which is going to allow us to do a webhook request to whichever endpoint that we'd like. And in our case, we can just put in an N8N endpoint, and we can talk back and forth with any of the data. So now I'm going to jump into N8N, and if you aren't familiar with how to use N8N, I actually just dropped a 5-hour tutorial on how to use N8N and build anything on there. I'd recommend checking that out first if you've never seen N8N before, but if you have, what we're going to be doing is doing the webhook request module to be able to send information from ElevenLabs into our agent, as well as a webhook response to send information back to our agent. So all we need to do is click on the add a first step. We're going to type in the webhook. Then you'll see webhook pop up, starts the workflow when a webhook is called. We'll click on this, and now we have a webhook trigger. Now this will be a post request as we're sending information from ElevenLabs to our N8N agent. So just swap it over. We can copy this URL right here, go back to ElevenLabs. We'll swap it from get to post and just paste the URL in here. Then next, we've got to fill out the name and description. So this tool is going to be a dedicated agent itself. So it won't be specific for sending emails or checking your calendar or doing anything individually. This agent is going to be handling anything related to our apps. So I could go ahead and just call this the N8N application agent. If the user requires any information, so if we need to check a calendar, it now knows that any external apps that we need to communicate with are going to be done through this agent. And then we just need to scroll down a bit, and all the way at the bottom, we have our body parameters. This is going to be the specific value or variable that we're sending off to N8N to process. And so this can very simply be our broad request. So in this properties section right here, what we can do is just prompt it to give us a summary of the user's request or the application specific request. This is the request from the user, including the action they want to take on the app. So I've just named the identifier the user request, and the description is that this is the request from the user, including the action they want to take on the app specifically. I'm going to set this as required, as this is needed in order to communicate with N8N. And then for the broader description, we can just say, please summarize the user's main request. And this will just assist in our N8N agent's ability to sort of contextualize exactly what we're looking for. So at the bottom, we'll now hit add tool, and that will go through. So now what we can do is go ahead and test this AI agent. I haven't set up any voice specifically or anything else on this agent, although we're just going to go ahead and use the default settings, and I can show you how to change some of the voices and other settings later in the video. Also, making sure to come back to N8N and just hit execute workflow, as we're going to run a test on this webhook.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I was looking to send an email to Fred.
I have initiated the workflow to send an email to Fred. Is there anything specific you would like to include in the email?
And there we have it. So I just told it to send an email to Fred, and we saw that the webhook has now populated right here on N8N. So perfect. It was able to contextualize that we had an application request, and it was able to trigger our tool based on that. And now it's come through here on N8N. And if I just click into this webhook, we can get access to some of the body parameters as well that we just sent through. And we can see that we've got a user request on a body, which says send an email to Fred. And that's it. So that's perfect. That's pretty much the only request and information that we gave it. Obviously, we can start to prompt it to get more information like an actual email, or we can connect this to a contact database to identify who Fred actually is. Quite a few different ways that we can integrate this and use it, but ultimately we've got the request coming through, and now we can do whatever we want with it. Quickly coming back to ElevenLabs here, we can obviously jump into voice. If you do want to change the voice of the actual agent that I just spoke with, we can change it from Eric to any of the voices that are on ElevenLabs. If you're familiar with voice agents, ElevenLabs, definitely the best platform out there for obviously getting access to all of the different voices that there are, different accents, different languages. There's definitely not a shortage of voices here. Coming back to N8N, what we're going to do is now jump into building out our AI agent, which is going to be processing the requests from ElevenLabs so that we can start to talk to some apps and then send that information back to ElevenLabs. Clicking into the AI step, we're just going to be clicking into the AI agent. Once we've added this to the canvas, we're going to jump into the agent. We're going to swap it from the chat trigger node. Since we're not using the chat module to communicate with the agent, we need to define below instead to send the information from our webhook. And what we can do is scroll down from our body request from the test that we sent through and grab the user request and throw that into the agent's user message. So now our agent has complete context on what the user is requesting as it has the variable inserted here. And all we need to do is now add in a system message to give it context on what to do about that request. So at the bottom here, you'll see add option. We can click into this, we can click system message. And this is where we're going to construct our prompt to tell it exactly what it has access to in terms of tools and functions. So before I dive into doing all of that, if I jump out of the agent, we're just going to set up the chat model. So this is the brain of the AI. This is literally just an AI model that we're going to be using to process all of the requests. What I like to do is use OpenRouter. OpenRouter is just one API that gives us access to thousands of different AI models. Just makes it a lot easier to manage everything that we're doing towards AI usage. So I've added my credential in here. You can just go to their website and set it up. It's pretty easy to do. And then you get access to literally every single AI model you can think of. Doesn't really matter which AI model you're using for this, obviously depending on the complexity of your task. If your requests are going to be using larger context, then you want to be using a more advanced model like Gemini 2.5 Pro or GPT-5, which have larger context window. Although for conversational agents, usually the requests are pretty small and pretty simple, and usually a model like GPT 4.1 Mini, which is handling very small tasks, does the job pretty well. Once we've done that, we can now add memory. If we do want to have memory in our conversation as to what tool we used previously in the conversation, we can add memory. It's probably not necessary for this type of an agent, given that ElevenLabs itself will be storing and retaining memory of our conversation anyways. But it is an option if you want to do it, and you can click on the memory button right here and just click into simple memory, and N8N's own memory storage system. It works quite well. Obviously, the more advanced options are these memories right here, although this does a pretty good job. Anyways, we'll jump into tools, and we're going to be adding in a few different tools to give our agent access to be really my own personal assistant. And so if I want this to be able to send emails for me, check my contacts, check my calendar, do some research for me, we're going to be adding in all of these tools. So the first thing that I might do is add in a Gmail module, and I can just type Gmail. Obviously, N8N has access to all of these thousands of nodes. And so it's very simple. It's a very easy process to get them connected. I'll just click on the Gmail tool right here, and it's going to give us a few different options for configuring an email. You'll see automatically by default that the send message module, the message selected, and the operation of send. So this by default is going to be configured to send an email to somebody. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select this button right here, which says let the model define this parameter. And this means that the email that we're going to be sending is going to be automatically defined by the AI agent. The same is going to go for the subject line as well as the message. So we're not going to do anything to do with actually setting up this email. We're going to let our AI agent really handle most of this, and it is going to be the one that's going to go ahead and determine who we're going to be sending this email off to. So the next tool that I'm going to add into this is going to be a connection directly into HubSpot. So HubSpot is a CRM. It's a CRM that we use. I'm going to plug it directly into HubSpot so that we can actually do some contact searching. So if I tell it to send an email to Greg, for instance, it's going to use HubSpot to find Greg, find his phone number, find his email, whatever. Then we can just take that email and then use it in our send a message in Gmail module. So rather than having to actually tell the agent what the email is every time, that wouldn't be very good conversationally. It's just going to look it up on HubSpot and have a full integration with our CRM. So once again, obviously N8N is great. It's got a lot of connections here. So HubSpot, we can literally just click directly into. We can just add it. Obviously, we add in our credential if you haven't connected your account yet. What we're going to do is use the resource of contact. The operation is going to be doing a search contacts, and we can just click on this. It's super easy to do. For the limit, we're just going to be looking for one person. So I'm just going to set that to 1, and then we can add a filter group. We're then going to add an option at the bottom here. If I click into add option, you're going to see a query. We're just going to be using AI to do the query ourselves. So I'm just going to add let the model define the parameter here. So the AI, once again, is going to handle it for us. We don't have to manually enter any sort of parameters or information in order to do the query. And that is it. That's all we need to do. Now, if we ask it to find Greg in our contact list, it is going to use HubSpot to do that. It is going to find his email, find his contact, and we're going to be able to use it and reference it throughout our AI agent step right here. Now, on top of this, maybe we want to do some deep research. We want to do some research into some topics that we're unable to get from the large language model because it's trained on past information. If we want to learn about any recent news that's relevant to our business at any point as well, we're going to be able to do that through a Perplexity module. So Perplexity, if you haven't heard of it before, it's more of like an AI search engine. It's sort of using a lot of the large language models to pass through search engine indexes. And so that enables us to get much more updated information. So if I add the Perplexity tool, it's once again super easy to do and set up. It's pretty much mostly ready to go. We can update this model from Sonar to Sonar Pro or Deep Research. These are just more advanced models that cost more money. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Depends on the complexity of the task you're doing. And all we need to do is jump into this text box right here and just let the AI define the model here. And once again, we're pretty much ready to go. So the majority of the work that we're going to be doing is going to be on the main AI agent prompt and just giving it some context as to when to use this module and when to use the other modules and how to really use them together. I've just gone ahead and created a fake contact in my HubSpot just to demonstrate the system working. I've called it John Cooper, and we're going to go ahead and try to get an email sent out to John through the voice assistant. So once again, hitting test AI agent, it should all be connected. Just got to make sure that you hit execute workflow because we are still in the test environment, but it should be pretty much ready to go. Even though we haven't built out the main system prompt, it should have enough context in each of these agents to understand what it should be used for at a very basic level. And I'm just going to tell it to specifically use HubSpot or something just to make it work a bit better.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I was looking to get an email sent off to John Cooper. Just want to ask him if he's interested in going out for lunch tomorrow.
I have sent an email to John Cooper asking if he is interested in going out for lunch tomorrow. I will let you know once I receive a response.
So there we have it. That went through and processed our request exactly as we expected it to, even without a system prompt. So pretty awesome that it was able to figure that all out itself. Obviously, I haven't added in the N8N response module yet as well. So our ElevenLabs agent didn't get any context as to anything that just happened. But if we have a look here, you're going to see that the HubSpot request went through perfectly. It was able to do the query on John Cooper, and it pulled back the actual record here for the email for John Cooper. Then the actual Gmail module as well was able to craft an email to the email specifically, and it just said lunch tomorrow. Hi John, I hope you're doing well. I want to ask you if you'd be interested in going out for lunch tomorrow. Epic. So it went ahead and did that. Obviously, there are some conditionings here. The signature wasn't very realistic, just putting your name, but these are things that are just very small prompt things that can be fixed quite easily, but already working pretty well. So all that we need to do to actually send this information back to the ElevenLabs agent on the call is just add in the webhook response. So just go ahead and type in webhook, and what you'll see is there's a second option here for respond to webhook. Add that module in and connect it to our AI agent. And then this is just simply going to run once everything is completed within our agent step. And we just need to jump back into the initial webhook at the start here and just swap it from respond immediately to using respond to webhook node. And that is going to connect automatically to the actual respond to webhook node that we have at the end here. Now, if we want to have a little bit more of a continuous conversation with our agent here, what we can do is swap this webhook over to the production URL. If I just swap it over, this will enable it so that the conversation will happen no matter what every single time, and our requests won't get stopped. We don't have to hit the execute workflow button every single time that we want to talk to this agent here. So we can swap it over to production URL. We can copy this, head back to ElevenLabs, jump into our agent, go back down to the tool. We can just edit this tool and just swap the URL over to the production one and hit save. Once we've done that, we can jump back into N8N. We can turn this on active now. And this will make it so that we can always talk to this agent here. So we can talk once and get a request and send an email off, but then we can talk back to it and ask it about some other contact information, or ask it a question to do some research on, and just have a fluent conversational experience. So before we do any testing any further, I am going to jump back into our N8N workflow here and just run through what the prompting would be needed and required to make this agent work a lot better. So obviously we would need a system message in order to give a context as to all the tools it has access to, so it can work seamlessly and understand when to use which tool for what type of task. I could say you are a personal assistant for Brendan. You will take his request and use the appropriate tool to help out. You have access to a Gmail tool to send emails. You have access to a HubSpot contact search tool to find contacts. You have access to a Perplexity search module to find the latest information and do local research. So super simple prompt here. Obviously you'd want to work on this a lot more if you're building out a production ready agent, but this is to give it just enough context to understand when to use which tool for what type of requests. So it just is able to do that a lot more efficiently. Jumping into the individual tools as well, if we have a look at Gmail right here, we do have a tool description which is set automatically. If I click into this, you'll see set manually, and you'll see that the description is set to send a message in Gmail. So that is the description. It's very basic. You could obviously update that to be a bit more descriptive, but otherwise it should do the job just for now since it is a very basic and simple request. I'll go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to jump into ElevenLabs and start off another conversation. Given that we've now given it some more context on when to use which tool, I'm going to give it a bit of a broader request to do multiple different things at once and see if it's able to actually handle that.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I was interested in seeing what the #1 best place to get donuts in Sydney was.
I am looking up the best donut shop. There are several highly rated donut shops in Sydney. Don't Donuts in Darlinghurst is known for its unique brioche sourdough hybrid donuts. Dolly's Donuts, located near Sydney, offers creative artisan donuts, including vegan options.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do Dolly's Donuts. That sounds good. I actually want to send an email off to John Cooper. You should be able to find him in our contact list. I want to send him an email and I want to ask him if he wants to go there for tomorrow for lunch.
I am drafting an email to John Cooper.
Perfect.
The email to John Cooper has been sent. Is there anything else today?
No, that's it. Has that all been sent off okay?
Yes, the email to John Cooper has been sent successfully. Is there anything else I can help you with?
So just quickly jumping into the N8N execution workflow history right here, you can see that our initial request for the sort of the donut shops, if we have a look at the webhook here, we're going to see what we sent through. What is the #1 best place to get donuts in Sydney? That was sent through as our first initial request. That hit our agent. It understood that Perplexity was needed to do this. We can see a bunch of shops here. Dolly's Donuts came through, a bunch of actual websites and articles related to the areas that are local. And then the content that was actually sent back to our agent here with the big list of areas. And then the next request that came through right after it was this request right here, which was to specifically send an email to John Cooper about the donut place that we had just referenced, which it came through once again into our agent step. We can have a look at the webhook and we can see that it said draft an email to John Cooper asking if he wants to go to Dolly's Donuts for lunch tomorrow. So awesome. It brought through the context once again from ElevenLabs. So it is retaining its memory, which is perfect. That then ran through our agent. It then understood that we needed to search the contacts in HubSpot and found his email address. And then that connected directly into Gmail and sent him the proper email. It had the sign off now because it has context as to who I am. And it asked John if he wanted to go out and get some donuts. So that is pretty much it. We now have a voice agent, which I can talk to over ElevenLabs. It's connected directly into N8N, which has access to my entire CRM and my email. And now I can literally just tell it to do whatever I need it to. If I want to send an email, we can add obviously a lot more modules and tools to give it much more power. In terms of actually deploying this agent as well, ElevenLabs gives us plenty of options on how we want to deploy it. If this is going to be my own sort of like Java's personal assistant, I can have this on my own website. And if I jump back into the agent settings right here, you can see that the widget has a lot of settings. So if we want this to be a website widget at the bottom corner, we can start a call with it. If we want this to be a chat-based agent, we can literally just toggle it to do so. You can see that they've got options for a tiny version, a compact, and a full, so many different sort of configuration options as well. And then all the way at the bottom here, you see we can get a shareable page as well. So this shareable page is something that we can literally just use to be our own AI agent personal assistant. So for example, I could deploy this agent on a dedicated web page. I could then every morning talk to this agent to give me a summary on the emails that have come through overnight. I could tell it to look up the latest news that have come through, and it's going to use Perplexity to do that. I can tell it to tell me about the latest leads that have come through with the HubSpot connection and really just talk back and forth very conversationally like somebody that works with me. If you're looking to get a system like this built out for you or built out for your business, or you've got some other ideas in mind as well, definitely feel free to reach out with us using the link in the description.